Welcome to the VarsityKansas.com Big Show. I am Joanna Chadwick of the Wichita Eagle and VarsityKansas.com, and we are taping here at KSN. My guest today is Hesston football coach Clint Rider. Coach, thanks for being here.
Hey, thank you. Glad to be here.
All right, well, let's talk a little bit about this team. You guys are sitting here at 3-0. You've given up a total of 27 points. How well do you feel like you guys are playing?
Well, I think we played extremely well in the first 3 weeks. Our defense has played outstanding. We gave up 7 points the first week to a good Smoky team. 14 to Halstead. In that game, we had some kids in early and played extremely well, and then gave up 6 points to Sterling. So our defensive coordinator, Doug Broadfoot, has done a great job. Our position coaches have given our kids a great game plan each week, and our kids have executed, and they played very physical, and we're extremely excited about how they've played so far.
You graduated Wyatt McKinney at quarterback and Ryan Shadler, who is now WSU for track. I mean, just an all-around stud athlete, all-Metro football player last year, more than 2,000 yards. Yeah. We could go on and on talking about this kid.
Right.
And so it's always interesting to see, okay, well, who's going to step up and fill that role of the star player? And wow, has Grant Raleigh done a great job with that?
Yeah, Grant's played outstanding, and we've talked about, his offensive line in front of him has done a great job. I'm sure it's a big comfort for him. And we returned 4 or 5 receivers on the outside, too, that have provided a good safety security blanket for him. But he commands the offense really well. We were kind of worried coming in because replacing those two, it's a lot of production, a lot of experience. And Grant stepped in and commanded the offense. He loves playing quarterback. He doesn't have the strongest arm in the world, but he just gets the ball there, and he's extremely accurate. And the biggest thing is he makes great decisions, whether it's zone read, whether it's our inverted veer, whatever he does, he makes really good decisions on the field. And he takes care of the football. I think we have 1 turnover through 3 games, which is really encouraging for us. So he's played extremely well. But he'd be the first to tell you that the 10 guys around him have helped him out and made him look good in the first 3 weeks.
I'm always kind of curious about kids like Grant, who, he helped lead that boys basketball team to an unbeaten season in the state championship. And he's a coach's kid. Granted, he's a coach's kid in basketball, but how does that kind of allow a kid to be able to see, even just from playing multiple sports, from being able to see the field and see maybe what other teams might do, even though maybe basketball is his first?
Well, I think it's his preparation. He's seen his dad prepare for games. He's been able to evaluate the opponent, and I think he's studied that, throughout his, athletic career. Whether it's basketball, he understands the strengths and weaknesses of each player, of each team, and how that goes together as a whole. So when we communicate as far as what we're looking for in a defense, he'll call some play for us every now and then. And we only have to tell him things one time. He's a student of the game. He watches film nonstop. And throughout the offseason, he studied the playbook. And if he does something wrong, he really he doesn't like it, and it bothers him. So he goes back and tries to fix those mistakes. And I think being around his dad, and being around teams that are prepared well, and especially Hesston teams who have had great success, has allowed him to do that and form good habits and be a student of the game.
Talk a little bit about your defensive line. You talk about Braden Weber and Brad Simpson, and really what have they done to help lead a defense that has played really well?
Well, Brad's length. He's 6'6", and he's 210 pounds. He's extremely athletic. But Brad sets the edge really well. It's really tough for teams to get the edge on us, and his length provides some issues for him. Braden Weber's just a hoss. I mean, he's got tree trunks for legs. He squats 550 pounds. He's done a lot of good things. He's a force to reckon with in the backfield. And he's extremely smart, too. He's really good at recognizing whether guards pull and getting in the hip of the guard. So he's caused a lot of disruption. I'd say those two up front, Devin Winger and John Weber have played extremely well, too, for us. But I think it starts there, and it has allowed our linebackers to make a lot of plays. When they can take on 2 or 3 blockers at a time, that definitely opens up lanes for our backers to fill holes. And it definitely helps our secondary out with not having to cover as long. So it starts up front, and those are the things that we preach, and those guys take a lot of pride in. And they definitely have something to be proud of because they played really well throughout the first 3 weeks.
Let's talk a little bit about, we're only 3 weeks in, heading into the 4th game, and you have to be looking all the time at districts and how your team is going to prepare and be ready for districts. But I'm going to take you one step further, and let's talk about 3A on the west side. I have talked about 5A on the west side, and it's ridiculous. 4A on the west side, always ridiculous. Yeah. But man, talk about your route. Let's say you win your district, which includes Southeast Saline, Council Grove, and Hillsborough. Okay, who do you play next?
Well, we've looked ahead a little bit, and I think you have to kind of understand how things might shake out. We're focused on the next week, and our preparation from that never falters. But looking ahead, we could see. You got the district match across with us is Garden Plain, Hutch Trinity, Kingman, and Halstead, all good teams. Any one of those two teams could come out of there. So our first game is extremely tough. Well, if we win our first game, if we win our district, then we would play probably Collegiate or Cheney or Conway, depending on how that district shakes out. And then if you win that game, you might play Scott City. If we get second in our district, we could go up and have to play Conway second round after having to play, the number 2 or the number 1 district winner of the district across from us, which could be any one of those 4 teams. I think they're all 3-0 or 2-1 at this point. So it's extremely tough. We thought we were getting a break coming down from 4A and not having to go to Holton first round. And now you look at 4A D2 and you got Andale and Wichita Trinity and some of those schools that are extremely good, and Holcomb out west. But you drop down and there's a lot of really outstanding teams that are good year in and year out. You got Beloit and Norton who've looked really good as well. So it doesn't get any easier in 3A West. It's extremely tough. It doesn't matter whether you come out first and second in your district. As long as you make the chase, you got a chance. And I think I was talking with Conway's coach throughout the summer, Coach Beeler, and he said that it really depends a lot on injuries. Too at that point in the year, and teams that can stay healthy have a really good chance. And so far we're healthy, and that's all we can ask for, and get a little bit better each week. And hopefully we're ready to prepare for the speed of the game that's definitely going to take a step up when we get there.
How important is it then because obviously an injury could happen at any point, and it is a violent game. So how do you prepare your team for that? How do you build that depth early on? Well,
I think, we've been fortunate in that we've gotten guys in games early throughout the season so far. We've been able to get some linemen rotated in, and I think for us that's probably the biggest concern is, making sure we have depth on the line. And those guys have been extremely reliable. None of them have had to sit out in the game in the last 2 years, but it's one play, and that can change the outcome of your season. And if you're not prepared for it, then that can bite you really hard. So we've tried to rotate guys in early in games and get some game experience for those guys. I think Zach Esau would do a really good job if at quarterback for us if Grant were to get hurt. So we're comfortable there. We've got 5 receivers that have done really well, and a couple others that would be ready to step in. So I think it's we've been in situations where we've been lucky to get that depth in game situations, but I think it's also setting time aside throughout practice to rotate guys in and make sure you're getting that depth and that guys know multiple positions and be able to cover somebody if they go down.
All right. Well, Coach, thank you so much. I hope that those injuries do not come your way. Yeah. And good luck to you for the rest of the season. Thank you so much for joining me on the show.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for watching the VarsityKansas.com Big Show. I appreciate you showing up. And feel free to send me a question, either email jchadwick@wichitaeagle.com or on Twitter @Joanna Chadwick. I am taking any questions and comments and responding to them in my weekly Q&A on VarsityKansas.com. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next week.